The small, picture square town of Outridge lived Mark, an easygoing man in his early 30s. Mark was kind of a guy everybody liked, dependable, friendly, and always ready to lend a hand. He had recently started dating Sarah, a woman he met at the local coffee shop. Sarah was strikingly beautiful, with an air of mystery that both intrigued and unsettled him. The relationship blossomed quickly. Sarah seemed perfect. She was attentive, caring, and deeply passionate. Mark felt lucky to have found her. She had a peculiar habit of knowing things about him that he hadn't shared. His favorite songs, his childhood fears, and even the names of his old pets. He chalked it up to her being particularly observant, but sometimes it felt like she knew him. Then he knew himself. Part 2. The Discovery. One rainy evening, Mark and Sarah were cuddling on the couch. Sarah had fallen asleep, and Mark's curiosity got the better of him. He decided to explore her phone, something he'd never done before. He found a folder named Mark. Inside were dozens of photos of him. Some he recognized, but many he didn't. There were also detailed notes about his daily routines, his conversations, and even things he did when he thought he was alone. Mark's heart raced. He carefully put her phone back and tried to act normal. When Sarah woke up, he suggested they call it at night. She kissed him good night and left, but Mark couldn't sleep. He was haunted by the thought that Sarah was watching and studying him. The next day, Mark decided to do some investigating of his own. He visited her apartment while she was at work, using the spare key she had given him. What he found made his blood run cold. Her walls were covered in photographs of him, with maps and notes detailing his every move. There were even articles about his family and friends. Part 3. The Confrontation. That evening, Mark confronted Sarah. He asked her about the photos, the notes, and the obsessive documentation of his life. Sarah's demeanor changed. Her eyes grew cold, and a sinister smile crept across her face. "I love you, Mark," she said, her voice eerily calm. "I want to know everything about you, so I can be perfect for you. Don't you see? We're meant to be together." Mark was horrified. He told her it was over, and that he never wanted to see her again. But Sarah didn't seem upset. Instead, she simply nodded and left, whispering, "You'll come back to me." Part 4. The Aftermath. Mark tried to move on, but he couldn't shake the feeling that Sarah was still watching him. Strange things began to happen. He'd come home to find items moved or received anonymous texts that made him clear someone was following him. He changed his locks, his phone number, and even moved to a new apartment. But the harassment didn't stop. One night, Mark returned home to find his new apartment in shambles. Written on the walls in red paint were the words, "You belong to me." In the center of the room was a single chair, and on it sat Sarah holding a knife. "Why are you doing this?" Mark screamed, backing away very slowly. "I told you, Mark," she whispered, standing up slowly. "We'll always be together." Part 5. The Twist. In a panic, Mark lunged at her, trying to wrestle the knife away. They struggled. In the chaos, Mark managed to stab Sarah. She collapsed, gasping for air, darn near dying. But before she died, she managed to utter something. "You'll never be free of me." Mark called the police and was arrested for Sarah's murder. He tried to explain the situation, but with no evidence of her harassment, His claims sounded like the ravings of a madman. He was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. How very pitiful. Part 6. The irony. Years passed. Mark adapted to life in prison, but he could never forget Sarah. One day he received a letter with no return address. Inside was a photograph of Sarah smiling with the words, "I'm always watching." Mark, Mark's heart sank as he realized the cruel irony. Sarah had orchestrated everything, even her own death, to ensure they would be bound together forever. He was trapped, not just by prison walls, but by the ghost of a woman who had loved him to death. Part 7. The End. In his cell, Mark began to hear whispers at night, for the cold presence watching him. No matter where he went or what he did, he could never escape her. Sarah had promised they would always be together, and she had kept her promise in the most horrifying way. As the whispers grew louder, Mark knew he would never be free. Sarah's deadly devotion had bound to her for eternity, a chilling testament to a love that had become the ultimate nightmare. Please subscribe to DarkZelKingz 3.0. We have more stories on the way. And thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.